Welcome back to the Fans of the Home Team podcast.
I'm Kelsey.
And I'm Miranda. This is a podcast that talks about the fun, the drama, and the effects that sports, teams, and athletes bring to the world, whether good or bad.
This is a podcast for the people who care about sports in a deeper way than who won or who lost. It's for the people who love the feel-good stories behind teams and athletes and realize that sports are much more than a game.
So before we dive into our very important episode, we did want to do a little recap of where we've kind of been and what we've been up to since it's been a little bit since we've recorded. Obviously, we've been posting regularly once a week, but it has been a minute since we recorded an episode. I think like a month, maybe.
That sounds right. I know we took a week off of posting because of your, I don't know, was it because of your bachelorette?
I think it was because of the Bachelorette, because obviously we were both there.
Yeah, it was busy.
But yeah, so we went on my Bachelorette weekend, which was a lot of fun in Nashville. So that was like the second weekend of May.
Good times.
Yes, ready to go back already. I love Nashville so much.
It was very labor intensive. Like I haven't done that much in forever.
Labor intensive. We got a good workout in every day.
It's a lot of stairs.
Yeah, we did do a lot of stairs. If you haven't been to Nashville, like it's on Broadway, everything is like multiple stories. And like I personally just love the rooftop. So then we had to go all the way up to the top. So
yeah, it was like going to the gym, but also with a lot of food and alcohol. So
yes,
it just evened out.
Our Airbnb was like 3 levels too. So that was a lot of stairs as well. Shout out to Jill if you're listening, which you better. You hosted a great Bachelorette weekend. We had a lot of fun.
Yeah, she killed it.
Yes.
I haven't seen a planning like that of any event in my entire life.
I know. I'm like, you should just be a party planner / do you want to just plan my whole wedding? But no, we had a lot of fun. We also, in our little hiatus of recording, got some trolls. Our first set of trolls on our Instagram, which was very interesting.
And what do you know that it was on the post about our men and women podcast too. So I made a clip of how I talked about the fact that on ESPN, the women's college basketball final was the most watched college basketball game, men's or women's, on ESPN specifically.
On ESPN.
The keywords on ESPN. And there were 2 male trolls, I can assume, from the profiles 100%. Of tractors that
and cars.
They were basically saying it was not real, even though you could Google it. And I told them what to Google to go see the fact for themselves. And then they told us our podcast was disgrace. We should just end it, basically.
Words exactly. This last one had me LOLing. You and your podcast are worthless and beyond repair.
So this is the end of the podcast. Goodbye, everyone.
And also, I really was so tempted to respond back to this dude like on my own Instagram, but then I got scared because I don't know. But his bio, I like where I am in life, and that's that. Never underestimate this pimping because I'm raising hell. Okay. Raising hell on 2 females podcast. Love it. I almost responded back with just like his little quote in his bio, but I was like, you're not even worth it. And then this other dude, not true, period. Like so mad. And what you are saying is very misleading and wrong. Respectfully take this down. First of all, it's not a false fact because like Kelsey said, literally research it, like do a little research. Second, he's acting as if we're like promoting like some false propaganda, like
right, like political propaganda online.
Yeah, like something insane. Like, please take this down immediately. Like, bro, please go check your ego at the door. And I would just like to say, first of all, listen to the whole episode because I guarantee you those 2 dudes, 1, don't listen to this podcast. 2, did not listen to that entire episode and just saw that one clip and decided to comment on it. And also do some research, period. That's all.
They literally proved their point of the entire episode.
Yes, I know, which I was like, it's just so unfortunate. Like these 2, like probably I would assume grown ass men are like so butthurt that like something successful happen in women's sports or women's sports viewership. How did you find us?
I guess the reel just got shared to them on their homepage or whatever, because they definitely don't follow us.
No, and I don't want them to follow us.
Target audience not reached.
No, not at all. I was like, please get off of our page. Thank you.
You suck, Instagram. Please send to supportive fans. Thank you.
Yeah, like, so we got our first trolls, which, you know, is just, I feel like that's a sign like we're coming on the up and up.
We are. That's how you know you're legit, when you start getting the hate.
Yeah, exactly. Because we got so much love, but, you know, the two haters, they really make this podcast legit.
It's true. Speaking of being on the up and up, we're looking to move in a new direction a little bit on social media, specifically like Instagram Reels, Facebook Reels, and TikToks. We've been looking at getting cameras and video recording the podcast so that we can basically take snippets of the videos and post them on various social media platforms. It's a popular way, especially on TikTok, for podcasts to grow. So we just see it as kind of the next step in growing the podcast.
And we're going to be moving away for, at least we're going to test it out from just the static posts of writing like each fan's stories and like the 3 different posts. But we'll still be obviously hosting interviews with the fans every other week like we normally do, but it'll just be more focused on the audio and video and less on like static posts on Instagram. But yeah, like Kelsey said, I think that we have an opportunity to grow more so on TikTok, and we really need that video component. So you might be seeing our faces more often.
Yeah, if you know our Venmos also, we both have to buy the cameras. They're not cheap, so hit us up.
Yeah, if you want to donate, that would be greatly appreciated. Obviously, like I said in the beginning, this is definitely an important episode. Similar to our previous episode about men's versus women's sports, this is another topic that I would say is more serious and important for us to discuss. And I think we've like said this since the beginning, like, yeah, we're fun and lighthearted and we love doing things like, what's it called? Sitcom bracket and stuff like that. But there's also a lot of like serious topics that we want to talk about that are related to sports. And I think it's necessary for us to shed some light on. So with that being said, today's episode is about Pride Nights that sports teams put on, and just our thoughts if they really do help make a difference or if it's just performative action, which before we dive into that, just if you don't know the definition of performative action, I feel like it's definitely helpful just to kind of have this in the back of your mind while we discuss these topics. So performative activism is activism done to increase one's social capital rather than because of one's devotion to a cause. It's often associated with surface level activism, which is referred to slacktivism. And I also learned that this term gained an increased usage on social media in the wake of the George Floyd protests. So basically, we will talk about examples of performative activism, pretty much slapping a logo on something instead of actually doing the work.
This is a great topic. Happy Pride Month, obviously.
Yes,
we're so timely.
Happy Pride Month.
This is a topic that's close to my heart as a member of the LGBTQ community. I have a lot of strong opinions on this matter and always have. She'll get to hear all of those. I think they can be a little bit different than a lot of people that are in the community as well, especially because I worked in sport too and kind of saw this firsthand. I think a good place for us to start is with the Tampa Bay Rays Pride incident that literally just happened. The Rays put on their annual Pride game, and the Tampa Bay Rays do a very good job of being present in the LGBTQ community. I don't think anything they do is performative activism from a front office standpoint. They seem to be very involved all year round, not just in June. Basically on their Pride Night, I think they had like a rainbow patch with their logo on the arm. And then I think it was 6 players decided that they were going to take the patch off while the rest of the team wore the patch. One guy chose to speak for the 6 players that didn't wear it, and said it was a faith-based decision. I don't want to discourage anyone from being who they are, but to me, it's the same as if a heterosexual male were to have sex outside of his marriage. But again, we love these people, we care about them, and we want them to feel safe.
All of his statements are very contradictory because a lot of what he's saying is like, oh, we don't support this because our faith, which people often use faith-based reasonings for not supporting X, Y, and Z, but then is like, but we love and support them. Like, but we accept all, like, but you didn't show that in your actions.
Right. If there's a but, like, you're lying.
Yeah. Like, I think that he was trying to like toe the line and like not say what he was actually feeling, first of all, and also like not trying to come off as a jerk, even though he still kind of did. And I know Kelsey and I talked about this for a while over the weekend. The Rays do such a good job. And I think that's why Kelsey prefaced this with like its separation from the organization. It's really these like players. But I know even the woman who puts on Pride Night was like really upset about it. And she was like, I should be a part of these conversations because it doesn't look good on the organization as a whole. And now it's unfortunate because this is all anyone is talking about. They're not even talking about all the good efforts and Pride Night as a whole at the Rays. They're just talking about these players being jerks, essentially. It was on TMZ. Like, if something is on TMZ, like, it's bad. Like,
it's not a good site to show up on.
Or like sports, I guess, is on TMZ. Like, that doesn't happen.
We see the things that the front office does just because we worked in sport. But for any fan that doesn't necessarily think about the ins and outs of running the team, this is the only part of it that they see. And that's unfortunate. There's no way that on Jackie Robinson night, if a player is like, I'm not wearing 42, like, they're not stepping out of the locker room. They're not letting them do that. Or if they don't want to wear the military uniform on military night, they're not going to let them go on the field. I think it's the same thing. I don't think you can let your players go out there if they're going to do that. And I'm sure they won't next year because I'm sure they'll make it a huge thing.
And they shouldn't have stepped out on the field because then they just made it about them when it was about the LGBTQ plus community. So they should have just stayed in the locker room if they didn't feel whatever reasonings about wearing a pride logo. I know Kevin Cash came out and said, like, this is not going to divide the locker room. I guarantee you, like, I would be looking at those guys like, really, dude? Like, what are you doing?
Right. They're your teammates. And there's no way a veteran player who's going to go out there and actually do what they're supposed to do isn't going to say something to those guys.
And even in that article, like, Kevin Kiermaier was quoted and he said, like, we've been doing this for years. Like, I'm very supportive of the LGBTQ plus community. We're in St. Pete. Like, I want everyone to feel welcome when they come to the stadium and feel comfortable and like excited to cheer the Rays on because we are inclusive and want everyone to like be a part of the Rays community. It's so fascinating to me that like faith is taught so differently across not only the US, but the world. And specifically thinking of like Christianity, the takeaways that I took away from going to Sunday school since the age of like 6 to 16 are completely different than what other people have taken away from their faith. I was always taught you're supposed to love and accept everybody and they're your brothers and sisters and like God created everybody in his image. And something that I hold close to my heart every single day is loving everybody equally and the same because we're all human beings. We're all here on this earth together. It's so contradictory to then be like, oh, but not these people over here.
The issue with using it against the LGBTQ community is the verse they always quote was not added to the Bible until 1946.
I was never taught that in school, like maybe outside voices or like in the media, like, or looking at other Christians, but like in school, I was never taught whatever line that they always use.
It's also interesting to me, like these players are, if you look at the names, these are not guys you would know. Like you would never, ever, ever, ever see, you would never see a Mike Trout. You would never see someone that was a household name or even like remotely close to one do something like this. Whether they believed in what these guys are saying or not, they wouldn't do it. There's no way.
You're really so pissed off about wearing a rainbow logo. Like, come on, dude. Just go stand on the field and wear the freaking uniform.
I think the biggest issue with this is we have no openly gay Major League Baseball players, and things like this keep us from having them. Because if there's a gay man in that locker room, homie's definitely not coming out now. There's no way. Kids in high school that are gay and want to play baseball need to see someone like them on a field. And because of something like this, they may not. And that's an issue for sports in general, is that there's very rarely a player that comes out before they're retired. And I promise you that pretty much every locker room has someone who's gay or bi in it.
The only positive that I have seen is that it did open up discussion amongst players who were supportive and those players who sat out, which I think is really important. When there's a polarizing issue, people just don't talk about it or don't listen to other people's opinions. And it's just like, nope, this is the way it is. And this is what I think. And this is how I'm going to think my whole life. So I will say that I think that it was good that it opened up discussion and people talking about it, but it just sucks that it stemmed from this situation.
Yeah, it's definitely paints the organization as a whole in a bad light. And they are one of the few sports organizations that does a really good job year round overall. So it really couldn't have happened to a worse team at this point. So
even another worse part of this is now everyone's talking about these 6 players instead of the Pride Night, and instead of all of the efforts that the Rays do, and instead of the LGBTQ plus community and all of the things that we were supposed to focus on. Now we're just focused on these 6 players who took the logo off their uniform.
Yeah, they somehow turned an entire Pride Night about them.
That's just the focus now. I feel like because other teams have hosted their Pride Nights, like the Dodgers had their Pride Night the other night and they sold like 15,000 tickets alone just for the LGBTQ plus community to come join the game and things like that. But like no one's talking about these positives because of those 6 players on the Rays.
We'll report on the good though.
Yes, we will.
Shout out to the front office of the Rays.
Yes, for sure. And hopefully having a larger discussion.
Yeah, I'm sure next year will be a lot different for them.
Yeah.
This is a point of discussion that a lot of people get into around Pride, is when a company will take their logo and make it rainbow and or sell products with rainbows on them specifically for Pride Month. A lot of times it's called rainbow washing. So when a company uses rainbow advertising during June to suggest their support for the LGBTQ plus community while putting in no tangible effort to help us any time of the year. Pretty much performative activism to a T.
I think that's what we see a lot coming from like a marketing standpoint. It's like honestly dumb. And I don't know if I've seen any really good Pride marketing campaigns. And again, I know we're focusing on sports, but just thinking from the brand side of it, I would rather see people in the community talk about what Pride means to them and talk about their stories. Obviously, if they're comfortable with it and open to, like, you can go on Instagram and like everyone's little profile thing changes to a rainbow logo. If you're truly supportive and an ally and you're helping the community 365, then yeah, go ahead and do it.
When I see a company that hasn't changed their logo to the rainbow, I literally don't think anything of it. Like, I don't expect you to do that. I'm not like, why isn't their logo rainbow? I don't think that. That's weird. When I see a rainbow logo, I'm like, I don't know. Like, what do you do? What do you actually do? I'm a little bit sus of it.
That's so interesting.
And not all teams or companies are sus about it, but I'm like, are you doing this because it's a marketing tactic? Are you doing this because you feel like you have to? What are we actually doing? What's the intent behind this? Obviously, Chick-fil-A does not make their logo rainbow. No. Good, because you shouldn't with the stuff you support. But like AT&T, for example, we has some stats here. They donated 2.7 million to almost 200 anti-gay, anti-trans politicians between 2017 and 2018. Like, you're in the same story as Chick-fil-A. Do not make your logo rainbow. Also, AT&T's Wi-Fi is terrible. Do not get it.
AT&T sucks.
I had it for 2 years. It was the worst Wi-Fi experience of my life.
So AT&T will never be an ad on this podcast.
Absolutely not. Home Depot, 1.8 million to over 100 politicians. Xfinity, 2.1 million to 150. FedEx, 1.2 to 72 politicians. All rainbow logos. Please wipe away your rainbow logos if you donate to anti-gay politicians. It's not hard to find that stuff out. Like, it's all public record.
No, exactly. And I think that we as a consumer see through that.
I do.
I feel like our generation and the generation below that, us, see through it. Maybe other generations don't. I don't know. I can only speak for us, obviously. But like, there's all this information out there nowadays. So you can quickly check like, oh, who has this organization donated to, or what does this organization support? And again, if you want to support those politicians, whatever, but don't change your logo to a rainbow and say like, oh, we support the LGBTQ plus community, when clearly you don't. Your actions speak way louder than you changing your profile picture.
These statistics are why I'm so sus of companies that do it.
Yeah, it's true. And I think, again, it's just like, oh, we have to check this box and appeal to this segment of the population. When first of all, like, you should just be appealing to everybody 365. Second of all, like, if you don't have the actions to back it up, then why are you doing it? It's just like it's weird. Like, it's hypocritical, and I don't get the point of doing so, other than like, you're scared that people are going to be pissed off that you didn't change your rainbow logo, but actually you're doing yourself more harm by doing so.
If you ever go to a Pride festival, which I've been to a few myself, obviously there's always like the parade, and then there's like, I don't even know, like, I guess the festival part where everyone and their mom has a tent set up and they're like giving free stuff out. There's all the rainbow logos, and there's like stuff you can buy or stuff like you can sign up for their mailing list. I just feel like we're being marketed to because we're in a specific community. And it drives me absolutely crazy.
This marketing campaign for Bud Light literally made me LOL, and not in a good way.
No.
But so they use like LGBTQ, and they obviously highlighted the L, the G, the B, the T, and the Q, and said, "Let's grab beers tonight, queens." No, first of all, immediately no. That is laughable. I don't understand how that appeals to the LGBTQ plus community at all. And you're like trying to relate with them on a weird level. And also, that's not even how you properly spell queens in the LGBTQ plus community. It's actually KWEENS, not like QUEENS, but whatever. I think that people look at Pride and they're like, oh, we need to relate to this segment. So like, let's use their, like, what you would see in pop culture of their like culture and their being and their identity and blah, 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 blah. When I feel as though listening to people like yourself and others who I'm friends with and talk to in the community, when there's different needs to be met and there's different needs of the community. They don't care that like your beer bottle is a rainbow. That doesn't mean anything to them. Like, what are you doing to actually promote inclusivity, acceptance, help the younger generation in the LGBTQ plus community? What are you doing to help the issues that those communities face? Like, that is like the substance of Pride, not changing your logo to a rainbow and saying, let's grab beers tonight, queens. Like, what? I think maybe instead something that would be more beneficial is like, you don't have to have the rainbow beer can, but like, if you really wanted to, whatever, but maybe having like facts about the LGBTQ plus community or the history or whatever, anything else that would like educate a different audience would be more beneficial than putting let's grab beers tonight. I think there's so many different, more substantial and actually beneficial ways to go about celebrating Pride and being an organization and a brand and a sports team a part of Pride than just like doing the literal bare minimum just to check a box.
Yeah, I did just Google it. They do partner with GLAAD and they have for a while. And I think it said they're donating $1 to it for every case they sell.
$1?
So I think they have been supportive over the years and like have actually donated and done good things. I think this is a really not great misfire.
Yeah. Whoever did this marketing campaign, no. And again, I mean, we've talked about this before from an organizational standpoint, like who was a part of this marketing campaign? Was there members of the LGBTQ plus community? Probably not, because they would have been like, no.
I would have been like, please don't. Like, I'm begging you to not do this.
Yeah.
It's like so bad.
What is it? A bunch of straight white dudes in a boardroom like, yeah, this will be
I can just imagine.
They don't. I can't think about like the conversations that happened in this meeting.
It's so funny, but it's not.
That's what I'm saying. It's like laughable. Like I was LOLing, but like in a bad way, like laughing at them. This
translates over into sports. I think we see a lot of teams make their logos rainbow, or a lot of them will come out with like a Pride collection of shirts or like one shirt and they'll sell it. And a lot of times I don't know if they partner. It is really hard to find data on what teams do what. It is so hard to look it up because there's really not a lot of information out there at all. If you're doing something, you've probably put it out on the internet as good PR. So I'm just going to assume if nothing's out there, you don't do anything, to be completely honest. But a lot of teams do the Pride shirts and the Pride logos and stuff like that. And a former minor league baseball team I used to work for, I won't name names. So in 2020, obviously the season did not happen because of COVID. I had worked there the season prior. Like, I think we did a Pride night, but I think it was in April, like before I got there, which is like, why would you do your Pride night in April when people don't come to baseball games yet? Anyway, they had this Pride shirt and they put it on Instagram in like June of 2020. They were selling this Pride shirt. I was like, this is sus, because there were no games. People were not going to games at all. I knew they like weren't really doing Pride nights. And even if there was a season, and I knew they did not donate money to charity, especially LGBTQ charities. Myself and a couple of my other former coworkers at said baseball team pretty much lit them up on Instagram, or like, where's the money going for these shirts? Like, please tell me you're not trying to make a profit off the LGBTQ community in the middle of COVID right now. And then like a week went by and we were doing it, and they eventually said they were donating the profits to some charity. And then I got blocked on Instagram. But
I didn't know you got blocked.
I'm blocked on like Twitter and Instagram. But
oh my God.
Twitter's another story. When COVID hit, they had put out like literally the day everything shut down. They had tweeted.
Oh yeah. I remember this.
They tweeted that they were going to go on sale with their tickets. And I replied with the GIF from Dodgeball. I was like, that's a bold idea, Cotton. Let's see how it plays out. And then I got blocked. Good times. But yeah, we basically had to bully this minor league baseball team into actually like doing the right thing with their Pride stuff. And they're not doing a Pride night this year either. So
shocker. So clearly, like, again, blatantly just trying to make a profit,
which is gross.
Yeah, gotta keep these teams accountable.
There's probably a lot of teams out there that sell this merchandise but don't actually do maybe a Pride night, or donate any sort of money to any of these things. Like, it's purely just marketing, which I think is really gross.
A good portion of teams donate a portion of their ticket sales for their Pride nights, which is what they should do. But that's like just one thing. Like, what else are we doing?
And it's also one night, right? Like,
yeah.
What do you do for every other game and every other day to make sure that people in the LGBTQ plus community will feel safe coming to your stadium, or feel like they're actually respected, or that you do something for the community? Because if it's just one night, I think you're checking a box.
Yeah.
Not a big check the box fan.
No, we've said it multiple times. Pride is a celebration, and it's a way for people in the community to come together, be with each other, and celebrate the progress that we've made up until this point. I understand like everyone wanting to be a part of it, but like if you're going to be a part of it, then truly be a part of the celebration and be a part of helping the community and moving the community forward and making everyone feel welcome and safe and included. Don't just do it because you feel like you have to do it.
If you do a Pride night and you don't donate to charities, if you don't support every single day, most importantly, if your locker room is not a place where an LGBTQ plus athlete or worker could feel safe, then you're truly not doing your job.
Yeah.
And I guess at that point, most teams aren't doing their job because there's no openly gay athletes. So there's something wrong in every single locker room.
Obviously, pride is important because we just said it's a celebration, celebrates the history, how far we've come, makes everyone feel welcome, celebrates acceptance, being yourself, inclusivity. It's also, I think, so much more than that people don't understand. And like, we should be having these conversations and talking about the issues that face the community, or talking about how can we be more accepting, or how can we be more welcoming 365. A lot of like the real like meat, so to speak, like meat and potatoes of pride like goes out the window, and people just think like, oh, we have to like celebrate and we'll just donate a portion of our sales to this for one day and it'll be done.
You could say you're helping for a month or a day or whatever, but everybody does that. So what does it actually mean? Come July 1st, all the rainbow logos come down, and all of that stuff gets taken off of websites, goes away. Their pride collection goes on clearance. You're right kind of back to where you started off, where you were May 31st or wherever. So it a lot of times it doesn't seem genuine to me. I think though a lot of people in the community do appreciate it. They will wear those logos. People love it and they love the pride nights, and that's awesome. I just think we have to push teams and organizations to do more than just that, if that makes sense.
For sure. And I thought it was interesting how, because I had this question for you, like if you would rather just a team not participate, or a brand or organization not participate in Pride Night or June or whatever, if they're just doing it performatively.
Oh yeah, if you're just gonna do it to check a box, just don't do it. That's my opinion.
Which I found interesting, because I feel like some people feel the opposite and like get mad at organizations or teams or brands, whatever, for not participating. But I think I agree with you, because like if you're just doing it performatively, like what is the point?
Yeah, I definitely see both sides. You obviously like want a team or an organization to be welcoming and want them to try, but I kind of think of it the same as like if you're interviewing for a job or you're getting a job and people are like, well, maybe they didn't hire me because I'm part of the LGBTQ plus community. Well, you didn't want to work there. You don't want someone to throw a pride night if they don't actually give a shit about it and they're just looking to make money off of you. As sucky as it is for a team to be like blatantly like, I don't care, we're not doing this. You know, it's better that you don't spend your money on a team that doesn't actually care if you're part of the community. That's how I feel about it. It's kind of a hot take, I think, sometimes, but
I feel like when Pride Night started to become a thing, like everyone was like, you have to participate, like all these brands, blah, 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 blah. But now I think we've reached a point where like we're actually more educated and like we can look up, like, again, going back to AT&T, like, oh, this brand is putting a rainbow logo, but they donate to anti-trans, anti-gay politicians. Like, you shouldn't be doing this then. Same with Chick-fil-A. Like, we know that you're a faith-based Christian led organization. Like, that's fine, but like, don't put a rainbow logo, which they don't.
Oh my God, that would be insane.
Could you imagine?
That'd be worse than the Bud Light.
Yeah, that would be awful.
That would be terrible.
But I think like back a few like years ago, like it was like, you have to do this. And now I think it's like, your actions are not supporting you having a rainbow logo.
If you don't care and you like show that you don't care, okay, that's cool. You suck, but at least I know. Like, at least I know. But if you're gonna be AT&T, no, you're scum. Like, you're worse than the people that just know they don't care.
Everyone has their own opinion, differences of opinion. Again, we do live in a country that promotes freedom of speech. So, like you said, if you don't want to be a part of June and Pride because it goes against your beliefs, okay, but maybe like you should sit on the bench for the Pride game.
Just a thought.
I was thinking about this before, and obviously we're talking specifically for Pride nights, but this can go back to any night that's like supporting a minority community.
There's obviously ethnic nights as well.
Yeah. And like, if you're just hosting them just to host them, I think it's good, again, because you're trying to welcome a segmented community that might not regularly attend your games, but there has to be like some action around it. Like, same with February and Black History Month. Like, I'm sure we could talk about brands just being performative there as well.
100%. That's a whole nother lane. That's an issue with teams a lot of times. And there's obviously a lot of issues in terms of racism around athletes and racial slurs and stuff too. But I think there's still a lot of issues in terms of locker rooms, and there's always, I feel like, a story of an athlete or a coach somewhere being homophobic too. And a lot of times I feel like these people like don't have any sort of consequences for their actions. Sometimes an athlete's fined and they're like, oh, $10,000. I'm like, that's like literally $1 to me. Like, that's like, if I had a speeding ticket and they're like, it's $1. I'm like, okay, bet. I like, that doesn't
pay it, and I'm still gonna keep speeding.
Whereas if you get like a $200 speeding ticket, like, you're thinking twice.
Yeah.
But I think players need to be more heavily fined. Honestly, like, some of the things people say you should get suspended or like just straight up fired for. A lot of people get fired for saying these things in a workplace. Like, why don't athletes get fired for being assholes to people?
Not held to the same accountability.
Like, I can't say some of these things at my work. Like, I'm going down.
Yeah, no, you're fired on the spot.
Again, when I was working at unnamed minor league baseball team, we also had an unnamed USL soccer team that failed very quickly. But anyways, the soccer team
very quickly.
Yeah, like, went bankrupt in one season. But anyway,
I'm shocked.
We had a soccer player say some homophobic slur at a game. He got suspended for like 4 games. And, you know, the story came out, like, he said he was sorry. The owner was like, oh, this is horrible. This won't happen again. So they bring in some trainers to like train us how to not be dicks, basically.
Not be homophobic.
Not be homophobic or racist or anything like that. So
be a genuinely nice, good person.
Right. Because this one player said something. So all the soccer players and then every staff member on the soccer and the baseball teams had to attend this. And the soccer player literally walked out halfway through and they didn't do anything about it.
Are you serious?
Yes, dude. It was wild.
Oh my God. And like, he's the reason that y'all are all there. That's so dumb. Whenever I worked at MILB, like the front offices, I remember during Pride, like, we had people come in and educate us on the LGBTQ plus community and terms and like how to be an ally and things of that nature, which I really appreciated because I learned so much because, again, I'm a straight woman. Like, there's so much that I'm consistently learning, especially being friends with people in the community and coworkers and working for a very LGBTQ plus friendly small business and in St. Pete and interacting with people and members of the community. Like, I learn so much every day. I feel the way that I feel, and I'm such a strong ally because I listen to y'all. I'm not being educated on people who are actually affected and a part of the community, and not being educated by like a straight white male or female, because like, they don't know. Even going back to Pride nights or marketing, why aren't we highlighting voices who are actually a part of the community? I want to hear from members of the community what pride means to them, their experience as an LGBTQ plus member, their hardships, their wins, the positives side of things, the bad, the good, the bad, all of that. That's more meaningful to me as a straight person than seeing a brand have a rainbow.
The reason we probably don't see that is because are there people in the LGBTQ plus community in these positions at all to make these big marketing decisions? Maybe, probably not, especially for teams. I would say the answer is probably no.
Yeah, which is for sure true. And again, an issue in itself, which I feel like that kind of segues nicely into some of our more bad examples.
From what I could tell, there's only 5 franchises in baseball that actually donates to an LGBTQ plus cause: the Tampa Bay Rays, the San Francisco Giants, Colorado Rockies, Seattle Mariners, and Arizona Diamondbacks. Pretty much everyone else does not do that. Texas Rangers are not hosting a Pride Night whatsoever, which we kind of talked about. Like, you don't want to, cool, don't make money off of us, do your own thing, whatever.
Which I also would like to say that's pretty much the only Texas team, because the Dallas Stars do a lot for the community. The Mavericks, a lot of the professional sports team in Texas do celebrate Pride and help the LGBTQ plus community year round. The Texas Rangers seemed like just a one-off. And when I read the article, there were some people like higher up in the organization who were upset that they weren't doing anything.
If they're high up people, then okay,
maybe use your voice to do something.
That seems like your job a little bit, but
exactly.
It's not like the entry level salespeople are like, we're mad.
Yeah,
you're high up, bro. Just do something about it. Some other things I found: there was a gay NBA fan that took it upon himself to search for homophobic tweets from NBA players. You know how that stuff comes out a lot of times. They'll find insensitive tweets. This guy found 78 tweets by 40 current players on 23 teams from over the years. And I think a lot of what happened was this stuff was being tweeted 10 years ago when Twitter just came out. Mm-hmm. And maybe these people didn't think Twitter was going to blow up, or they weren't going to blow up.
Delete your tweets, people.
Seriously, delete. It's really not hard to delete your tweets.
Yeah.
There's no saying that the people who tweeted this stuff back then feel any differently now, or don't say these things behind closed doors now. So it again attributes to probably a toxic locker room experience if these guys are literally willing to talk like this openly on the internet.
This is my hopeful side, but I hope that at least half of these players have changed their tune, because I definitely tweeted some dumb shit 10 years ago when I was young and impressionable 18-year-old and didn't have any life experiences. Yeah, the chances of all 40 of them, low.
Low. It's the least you can do is not say shit that. Very baseline.
That's why it's just so crazy to me. We live in 2022. Don't say these awful slurs and words. Use anything else in your vocabulary. You sound
like a dick, and no one
likes exactly
you. Another thing that I found was a former University of Florida women's basketball player. The coach had called her out numerous times of dating a teammate, was incorrectly too, because the player, he was assuming she was dating somebody who was actually straight, and he would always be like, you guys can't date on this team, you can't be doing stuff like that. He's very homophobic. She literally transferred.
So sad.
He got fired, I'm pretty sure, though.
I hope so. Obviously damning for the one player, but also the straight player too. I think a part of the reason why people are against the LGBTQ plus community is fear. Growing up, my experience was if you don't talk about it, it won't happen. If you don't show people being gay, then people won't be gay. But it goes back to people thinking it's a choice. My hot take always, and this is a hot take, but I'm allowed to say it because I'm gay. My hot take is if you think you have the choice, then you made the choice, because you're straight. You know that you didn't make a choice. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure. And I think like, again, it goes into like this fear that like, oh, if I'm around gay people, or oh, if I see gay people on my TV, or if my kids are exposed to that, they're going to be gay, which is not how it works. I wasn't like looking at Beauty and the, or not Beauty and the Beast, because he's a beast. So that's a terrible example. We're not promoting bestiality here. But I wasn't looking at like Cinderella and Prince Charming and was like, oh, I'm straight. Like that didn't make me straight. I'm trying to think what like the first show that had gay people, maybe Modern Family was like the first one that I watched that I can like remember. Oh yeah, Friends, I guess.
Kind of. Yeah.
What's her name? What's Ross's
Carol.
ex? Yeah. But I never, when I honestly, as a kid, it probably went so over my head, like most things on like Friends did. As an, I guess, like young adult, I would say, where I understood like what gay was and like what it was about. I feel like it was Modern Family. And it wasn't like I saw Cam and Mitch and was like, oh, I'm gay. Nothing that I was exposed to made me straight. I just knew I was straight.
Because you were born that way and just how it works.
Obviously when I was like a kid and young, like I would see some of my crushes like Chad Michael Murray or like Zac Efron, and like they're guys and I'm like, oh, they're attractive, I like them, okay. But I never was like, I'm straight because I see Chad Michael Murray, like, you know.
Yeah, that's not because it's just you are.
Yes, exactly. And I've never had to like explain myself why I am straight, and I didn't choose to be straight. That's just who I am. I like men. I don't even think I recognized like gay or lesbian or anything like that until it was like projected on me. And like as a young adult, when you start to realize things like sexuality and puberty and all of that stuff. But like as a kid, no, I didn't notice any of that. I was just like, whatever.
Just another person, right?
Yeah. Like when I was in elementary school, of course, you have like your crushes and whatever, but it never was like, oh, I'm straight. Like
you definitely don't say that in elementary school.
No. Like I might have thought like all girls have crushes on guys and all guys have crushes on girls because that's my personal experience. You know what I mean? Like I never was like, oh, the girl next to me might have a crush on me. Like as a fucking 6-year-old. Like, no, you're not thinking that way.
No, you just know what you know. And like, if someone's different, then okay.
I think kids grow up accepting, and then it like reaches a certain point where like you're trying to segment off all of these people, and then it's like, oh, you shouldn't accept them, or these people are weird, or this or that. And like I don't have a kid and I don't know what it's like to have like a 5 or 6-year-old or 7-year-old, but like just remembering like my experiences, I barely even remember anything from first grade.
I think the good thing now is more and more people as time goes on identify with the community. And it's so interesting to see the numbers of like how many people in each generation identify as LGBTQ plus, like, because it goes up every generation. So you have to think back. There's not just more gay people being born. There's just more that have come out. How many people are actually part of this community in each generation? That number could be a lot higher than people think.
Yeah. And I think that people like think like, oh, because there's all this gay imagery and blah, blah, blah. So that's why people are becoming gay. And it's like, no, it's because it's becoming more accepting in our society and people can find places of support and friends and family so they feel more comfortable in being their true selves. Again, I think people fear being around gay people or being exposed to that, then they're going to be gay.
We're not contagious. Like exactly. It's literally not COVID.
No. I've been exposed to the LGBTQ plus community probably since like more so college, where it's like more accepted and normalized. And I've never felt like, oh, I feel pressured, or oh, maybe I am a lesbian. Like, no, that's not a thing. Again, I think a lot of things go back to fear.
Stop being scared. If you know me, you should be cool.
We've been best friends since how long now? I always get this wrong. I'm so bad with time.
4 years. Time isn't real. Time is constructed.
Time is an illusion. Obviously, I see you as a part of the community, and I know you're in a lesbian relationship and all that stuff, but it never has affected our friendship. And I just treat you like a normal human being. I've never felt any sort of weirdness.
I appreciate you for that.
Yeah,
But-
like, and like we talk about our relationships too. And like, I talk about my experiences in a straight relationship, and you're never like, this is weird. Like, it's just,
Right.
I don't know. Like, we're just two people or two best friends who talk every day. And it's just like, okay, yeah, we have different sexualities, but that doesn't mean anything.
We've done a lot of shit talking. Good
Yes.
shit talking. Productive shit talking.
Productive.
So let's talk about some of the good that some organizations are doing for the community, because there are some teams and some leagues that have done a lot up to this point. Like I said, it is really hard to research. We're probably missing a lot here, but it's really just difficult to find a central landing page that tells you everything. I think the leagues are mostly at the forefront of actually helping the LGBTQ plus community at all times. The NFL, for example, has an entire page on their website. They have news about the community. It mostly has to deal with the one openly gay player right now. It's mostly just like a page about him. It seems like the news portion of it. But they also have 5 LGBTQ nonprofits that they support and highlight on that page. So that is good, especially for a league that gets called out a lot in terms of performative activism. There's definitely some things wrong with the NFL, but it does.
I was going to say, because they don't host any Pride nights.
They don't host any. NFL
feel like-
teams don't do a lot of that stuff anyways, with so few games.
I did find it interesting when I was like researching some things that I didn't realize that October was LGBTQ plus history month. So I feel like some of these leagues who are like use the excuse like, oh, we're in the off season in June, could
Right.
utilize October in some way. But no, I agree. Like the NFL really doesn't participate in much activism.
No, it does not seem so, but they have this going on, I guess. So
Yeah,
I think they donate a lot of money.
I would hope so, considering how much money that league makes.
I think they do try to do more than a lot of individual teams for sure.
And I think too, having an openly gay player is a huge step.
You can't find that in any other league at this point. So
No.
one up there. The 49ers are probably the best team in terms of supporting the community. I found that they have a gender neutral clothing line, which is, I think they're probably the only team to do that at all, which is good because I think a lot of teams will do like the women's clothes in like pink and the baby blue.
Which like I never see women. I don't want to say never. Probably 5% of the time I see women rocking actual women's clothing from teams.
Because they're terrible.
The sizing is like, I don't want it to be like tight to my skin. I want it to be baggy, like a t-shirt.
Right, exactly. You will never catch me buying like a women's Cowboys or Cubs t-shirt. There's just no way.
Yeah, my mom does buy women's cut, but like she enjoys that cut. So like I don't blame her for it. She doesn't buy like the pink, or it's still like in Mets colors is what I'm primarily
Teams
thinking
colors.
of. Yeah, exactly. And it's more so I think she buys from the 7th line, not even like from the Mets website, but she does buy like women's cut, which again is nice to have, but in the team's colors. Like I don't want it in pink.
I've never seen a single person rocking like a pink women's cut jersey in my life.
I will say when I was young, I had a David Wright pink shirt. I don't remember wearing it that often. I more so wore it as a sleep shirt because I was like, why is this pink? My brother would have like the normal Mets cut, like blue and orange. I'm like, well, I want that.
I'd be interested to see the stats on like the age of people that buy those things, because I'm willing to bet that people our age and younger do so at less of a rate. But anyway, having gender neutral clothing is definitely a big step for the community, especially with people who identify as non-binary. I'm sure no other teams do this. I don't know if a lot of clothing lines even do it. So definitely a big step. WNBA is probably the best league in terms of supporting LGBTQ plus rights, just from the mere fact that a ton of their players are actually out. I think women athletes tend to come out more than male athletes. I'm sure it's because their locker rooms maybe don't have toxic masculinity in them, would probably be the main
I would also
reason.
say, just thinking of like gender quote unquote norms / gender pressures that society put on you, which I guess can be like showcased for women too, but like men, they're supposed to be like tough and manly, and like for some reason people think of a gay man and think weak and brittle, which is not true.
There's weak men of all sexualities.
Yes, exactly. T.
But yeah, the WNBA has an entire campaign around Pride. A lot, like I said, a lot of their athletes identify with the community. They're definitely a front runner in this, and probably always will be. The NBA is not far behind since they're in alignment with the WNBA as well. And then the NHL always seems to do a good job. Their website's got LGBTQ hockey organizations specifically worldwide on there, and resources for nonprofits as well. So there's a lot of leagues doing good. I think the leagues do better than the individual teams themselves sometimes. For whatever reason, maybe they just have more money. Maybe they feel like they should, to make an example for the teams, which they do need to do. At a league level, it's a lot better than an individual team level.
Which I saw when doing research that in the Premier League, they just do like a league-wide, essentially, Pride Night. They call it something different, which I thought was kind of an interesting take, almost similar to what like the MLB does for Jackie Robinson Day, where like the league, they all celebrate pretty much at the same time. I don't know. I feel like that could be like one route to go, where it's like a league-wide day instead of like all the teams individually scheduling it out in one weekend or something like that. And then the teams are responsible for like the celebrations and how they actually are going to help the community and all of that stuff. But I thought that was interesting that that's how the Premier League structures.
It's called the Rainbow Laces.
Yes,
campaign.
that's what I knew. It was something cool.
They like pick a week, and then when your team plays that week, I guess that's when you have like rainbow laces and stuff, and the flags and the balls and handshake board, captains' armbands are all rainbow as well. I think there was a whole thing about a player refusing to do something with it last year, but I think he got in trouble for it too. So,
well, that's good. The NHL kind of structures theirs similarly, where it's like in one weekend / week. I feel like honestly the MLB is the only one where it's like scheduled throughout the entire month of June.
I guess it would go back to like, would individual teams just like cry about it and not do it, or what? I don't know.
Well, it sounds like really just the Texas Rangers. So
that's true.
The best example that I have isn't even like sports related, but it's from my own personal experience where I work now, which is a small business in St. Pete. It's a lesbian owned business, and we support the LGBTQ plus community like year round. Again, because we have a lesbian owner and a lesbian entrepreneur. So she's a part of the community, but just not only that, we're located in the Grand Central District of St. Pete, which has historically been known as the gayborhood, because that's where a lot of members of the community would move to when it wasn't as accepted in like the St. Pete, Tampa metro area and just like Florida in general, which is why St. Pete is such a hub for the LGBTQ plus community. Obviously, we go really big for June because it is Pride Month and it's important. And it's interesting to me because it's not just like our store or our neighborhood, like all of St. Pete celebrates Pride, and you can look it up. There's like events and different things to go to all month long, like almost every single weekend for sure, but sometimes every single day. They make like a very big deal about it, which they should, like just raising the pride flag. And there's like different like seminars and educational things that you can go to as well. There's also ways that you can support LGBTQ owned plus communities. I just think that the way that St. Pete goes about it is just like chef's kiss, like perfect. I think that it's not just like, oh, we're all going to put our rainbow decorations up and that's it. And even the store that I work out work at, not work out at, is year round, like a gender neutral, like welcoming, inclusive environment. So we welcome everybody. We believe that you can wear whatever you want to wear because fashion is a form of expression, a form of art. So just because you're considered in society a certain gender doesn't mean you have to dress that way. So that's like the store to its core, like one of its core values. So obviously that's something I don't want to say promote, but like make people aware of year round. We also put out like special pride shirts, I would say, but they're also sold year round. So it's not like we're just putting it out for June. So like last year, our pride shirts were Keep St. Pete Gay and then Into the Wine, Not the Label. And those are shirts that we carried in store year round. Like it's not just like, oh, it's June, we're just selling these for this month only. We do release like new designs. So this year it's the pride flag, but it says like St. Petersburg. And then we also have a shirt that says We Say Gay. Directly correlates with what's going on in Florida right now. If you don't know, Google it. I don't feel like talking about it because it makes me too angry. But again, it's not just a pride flag on a t-shirt. It's actually something that directly correlates with what's going on in the community in our state. We also are doing like, what's it called? Like a portion of our sales will go towards a local LGBTQ charity. And then we do like different drag shows and things like that, which are fun, but it also showcases visibility of the drag community as well, and just a different portion of the LGBTQ plus community. So like there's so much that we do obviously in June, but it's pretty much a year-wide thing.
The shop probably does the most that I can think of for any sort of company in terms of helping the community. That's what I think of when I think of what a company should do.
Mm.
So if they're not doing what Sip Shop is doing, I don't want it. Don't want it.
Yeah. And even like we've hosted HIV at AIDS like awareness seminars or like groups to come together because that's a common issue facing the community. Like just the key is like being open and welcoming to the community at all times rather than like just in June. And I've seen like the like memes that's like companies in June like putting their rainbow logos and then it's like July 1st, get away from me, you fruit, or whatever, like stupid things like that. And it's so true because like you said, what were you doing May 31st? What are you going to do July 1st?
There truly are companies and teams and leagues that are doing the right thing and are making steps to doing the right thing all of the time. It does keep getting better for people in the community. Obviously, every day gets a little bit easier for somebody. So it's good that we're trending in the direction we are at this point.
And I think having like these conversations are important and just like showcasing the visibility as well.
You gotta talk to people.
Yeah, exactly. I think we have very similar opinions on this subject, but even talking to people with difference of opinions is important. Even if you believe that they're wrong and they believe you're wrong, it's still productive to have the conversation because people need to hear a difference of opinion as well. And you can't just shut it down and be like, I'm right.
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't talk to people that think differently than them or don't consume media that is different from what they think. And then they get in this bubble where they think only their opinion is right. And I think it got us to a point where we're at today in terms of politics, and it's dangerous. So please talk to people.
Yes, have these conversations, even if you both leave with the same opinion that you have, it doesn't matter. At least you can talk about it. It's important just to like hear different viewpoints.
Having a conversation without being able to get mad at somebody who thinks very differently than you is a skill that everyone should probably learn.
Which I did have a question kind of to leave it off on for you. Is that some people argue that eventually they hope to get to a place where we don't necessarily have like dedicated pride nights or things of that nature because the LGBTQ plus community will be fully integrated and welcomed into our society. So what are your thoughts on that?
I guess sounds kind of negative, but I don't know if we'll ever be at that place.
Mm-hmm.
There's always going to be people out there that make it so we're not fully integrated. I don't even know what fully integrated would mean at this point. You know, maybe we do get there, but I think it's still important. We celebrate Pride because of what people have done in the community before us and to commemorate them, because a lot of people literally died for Pride.
Yeah.
So I don't think you can ever get rid of Pride nights or stop celebrating just because of the history of what we went through. You'd hope that we'd be fully welcomed, but it's really hard to get anything to be. If you're not a white, straight, cisgendered Christian man, you're a minority. And
yeah.
So most people in this country are minorities, like, honestly.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that it's hard to see a society where it's just like we're all accepting of everybody, because there's always going to be people who aren't, unfortunately.
I mean, yeah, maybe, but probably not in our lifetime.
No.
It takes a long time to get to, I mean, gay marriage was legalized 7 years ago. Like,
yeah,
that's really not a long time ago. Even in terms of where we're at with race, like slavery was eradicated close to 200 years ago. We're still not in a good place with race. So
yeah, for sure. I will end on this quote because I feel like it's pretty powerful. And I think that it sums up like our episode perfectly to the most part, and kind of the point that we're trying to get across. But it says that there's a vast difference between diversity and inclusion and liberation and justice. One enjoys the feeling of my presence, the other embraces the fullness of my humanity.
That's a mic drop right there.
And yeah, that's all we got to say about this.
Team Pride.
Happy Pride.
Happy Pride. Be good 365 days a year, please.
No performative allyship.
No, let's grab beers tonight, Queens. Logos.
No.
Thank you so much for listening to the podcast. Next week, we're doing another interview with the fans, so you definitely don't want to miss that.
As always, check out our link tree, which you can find in the description of the episode. This is our one-stop shop for you to find all of our social media accounts and also sign up to share your fandom story with us.
And so you don't miss any of our upcoming podcasts, subscribe to us on whatever platform you're listening on. We're making a big push for reviews on Apple Podcasts and would love your support as we continue to grow. I said it last time, don't troll us, but that didn't work, but try not to troll us. You can find us on Apple, Spotify, Google, Amazon, iHeartRadio, and more. If you're looking for it, you should be able to find it anywhere.
And also, obviously, we're looking for reviews on Apple Podcasts, but if you listen on Spotify, you can give us 5 stars too. So you should do that as well.
Anywhere you can rate,
5 stars.
Do it.
Yeah, anywhere you can rate us, and then go to Apple Podcasts and leave us a review. Again, thank you so much for listening. Happy Pride, and we'll see you next Wednesday.